Alright, so this is starting to get ugly. I'm having to tear apart a lot more than I wanted to. Oh man, I was supposed to take this thing out while I had this stuff out. I have no lights, no battery power, the sun is not shining, it's raining, it's dark. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that fuse in and see what happens. Hopefully nothing blows up and catches on fire. Like, you can see a big difference in these two inverters. Not just the size difference, but like the size of the fans. Like these ones here on the 3000 watt compared to these smaller ones here on this 2000 watt. I mean, there's a big difference there. This thing says it's rated for 162 amps continuous and 205 amps max for 5 minutes, which is like just under 2500 watts. So that would explain why this 10,000 BTU air conditioner would not work, because it's probably using more than 2500 watts to start up the compressor. I mean, it's not use nowhere near that many on a regular basis, but just to start the thing, it's probably pushing that past 2500 watts. So that's why this thing was tripping. I'm going to test it out when I get this installed. So, like, you know, if I decide to install if I decide that needs to be done, before I do that, I'll plug it into this and make sure that it works. You know, because I want to be able to run it off of battery power for maybe like a short amount of time as needed. All right, let me throw this in here. I mean, this is a huge difference in size, so I have no idea how this is going to fit in there. So, we're about to find out. Alright, so this is starting to get ugly. I'm digging in here. I don't know why. Let me switch this. So I'm having to tear apart a lot more than I wanted to. And so I've got the battery disconnected here. Possibly I'm going to shorten up this wire that connects battery 1 to battery 2. All these things going to the negative side, those are going to come off of there. You know, I'm not really sure what the deal is with all these, to be honest, but there's going to be one going here. It's going to go to the shunt, which means I got to dig back in there, take everything off of that and redo that. I've got all the power disconnected, the lights are out, everything is off. And even though I have basic plans on how I want to install all this, you know, the unknown factor is when I take everything apart and just figure out what I'm seeing as I disassemble this and what I have to deal with. That's the part that's getting a little tricky. So let me just keep going and see how far I can get. Man, this took way more time than I thought, and I'm not even close to being done. But let me just review what I've got to make sure for my own sanity here. So the batteries are connected to each other in parallel. Those are done with this wire here. Let me get to that later. Negative is going straight to the shunt, and that's the only thing going to the shunt. Straight from the negative on the on one of the batteries. The other part of the shunt, at least I think, I can't see. It looks like just one. Yeah, so the other is going to this bus bar, and the positive is coming to this fuse, which I'm going to install in a second. Coming out with two 2-aught gauge wires coming to the bus bar. I got them on separate terminals, but that's fine. So that's the battery, and then everything powered comes off of this bus bar. I could install a switch, but at the same time I can easily just pull this fuse out, so that's maybe not necessary. What else? The wires here I need to double up from the shunt to this negative bus bar. Should be 2 of these wires, but I need to go to Harbor Freight and buy some more other wire, which is more flexible. The stuff that I'm using now is not flexible enough to make these turns and fit 2 of them in there, so I can do that later. This will be fine for now. I'm not going to exceed the power usage. On the negative, we've got the shunt, we've got 2 for the inverter. These are doubled up, 2 of these things for negative, 2 for positive, so that'll make sure it's more than enough to handle if I max out the inverter. On this post I have the negative going to the AC to DC charger. I have the solar charge controller, 4-gauge wire, 1 coming to the negative, 1 going to the positive. Bus bar, I have this random ground wire, which I'm not sure what it goes to. I don't know if it goes to these things. It might go to these things. I'll check that. And 2 for the inverter, and 1 for, where is it? The stinger. So this is going straight to the stinger, to this terminal here. On the positive, we've got 2 for the inverter. This thing is getting power to these fuse boxes, I'm pretty sure. I know this one is. I'm pretty sure this one goes there to the other one. Don't know how power is going to the one down there, but that doesn't matter for now. Then we've got, of course, 2 from the battery. I have this is the stinger positive, so stinger positive, stinger negative, solar charge controller, and of course the positive wire from this AC to DC charger. So this should be enough to get me through the night. Down here I found my chassis ground. This goes back behind this wood panel and connects to the chassis somewhere back there. Oh man, I was supposed to take this thing out while I had this stuff out. Shit. Maybe I can do that. I'm gonna have to come back in and redo stuff, but so we've got the chassis ground, and then this thing goes to, right now it's just connecting to the inverter chassis, but whatever else needs to be chassis grounded can go through this. I think that's it. Dare I throw that fuse in? I'm gonna go ahead and throw that fuse in and see what happens. Hopefully nothing blows up and catches on fire, and then I'll review this stuff. This stuff is, man, that wire just took forever. I have no lights, no battery power. The sun is not shining. It's raining. It's dark. Like, this is ridiculous. So if I was smart, I would have pulled my other battery bank from my other storage, brought it over here, hooked it up to the other inverter, and just gave myself some temporary power. But, you know, I guess I'll think of that next time. All right, let me plug this fuse in. This is a 350 amp, and see if the inverter power's on and if everything is functioning. All right, So I got a massive spark when I tried to connect that fuse, but it connected. Everything is fine. The inverter's turned on. Refrigerator powered back on. DC lights are working. I'm about to look at the rest of this stuff later. It's getting too late. I'm gonna have to get out of here. What else do I got to do? I'll have to figure that out later. Only thing I'm really gonna do is just cover this somehow temporarily so we don't get any accidental things falling onto this. These things are not gonna fit back on here. I just have so much shit. Even if it did, that's not gonna cover it. It's not gonna do a good enough job. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cover this somehow, and maybe I'll put a cover over top of it, another piece of wood over top, so I can put something else on top of that. And then I don't know where this thing's gonna go. I'm gonna deal with that later. All right, let me wrap this up and get out of here. All right, so got all these beaches done in La Push, and there's the van, still where I left it. Now all I gotta do is just figure out where I want to go next. So that's what I'm gonna do.